Greetings, beloved. I hope you're doing well. I was shown by God, and this is not going to be a word for everybody. There is judgment that is being effected against your stubborn pursuers, people that hate your rising, people that have determined and dedicated their lives to ensure that the purposes and the will of God over your life is not realized. And when the judgment comes, God wants to remind you that you don't have control over that. You don't have control over how God exercises judgment. And in God exercising judgment, beloved, remember, judgment for the wicked means vindication for the children of God. Let me qualify this. So when God decides on the judgment, you may not have a say in how that judgment is effected, because it means that God has now taken control of the situation and he is doing as he sees fit, because he's the righteous judge. He's the judge of the whole earth, the judge of the entire universe. And for some of you, particularly, God showed me, because you walk in the grace of mercy, you walk in the gifting of mercy, you may even want to interfere and say, oh, but God, your wrath is too much on this individual. In situations where God does show you the wrath and the judgment that he then passes on those that have been rising up against you. And God is saying, do not interfere. What is it to you what I do? Those are the exact words that I hear. What is it to you of what happens to the people that have been rising up against you? Because the moment you handed over the battle to God, you lost the right to have a say. And I was shown, some of you may even say to God, you know what? I don't even want a table prepared in the presence of my enemies. I don't even want to have my life prove a point to them. No, I just want to be focused on me, my business, what I'm trusting God for. I just want to be focused on the things that you have purpose for my life, God. I don't even want them in my presence. I don't even want them at the table. So you don't even have to go to that extent, God, of proving a point to them. Just let me be. And God is saying, you don't even have the right to dictate to God what does his judgment look like. So if God decides that as part of your vindication, he is going to cause them to see and look upon your success, that is part of God's vindication process as he effects his judgment. So you may be even saying, but God, I will even move to a different location because I really, really don't want my life to be a point that I'm trying to prove. Unfortunately, you don't have that luxury, beloved. When God effects his judgment, he takes full responsibility. He takes full ownership of the process. So what happens to your enemies, unfortunately, no longer becomes your concern. What happens in their lives, unfortunately, no longer becomes part of your burden, right? I want us to go to the book of John 21. This is the very last chapter, okay? And what happens is that Jesus speaks to Peter. This is after Jesus has risen from the dead. He's now showing himself to his disciples. He has a conversation with Peter. He restores Peter, right? Then in verse 18, we are reading chapter number 21. Most assuredly, this is Jesus speaking, I say to you, When you were younger, you girded yourself and walked where you wished. But when you're old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will gird you and carry you where you do not wish. Now, 19, this explains why Jesus said those words to Peter. This he spoke, signifying by what death he would glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he said to him, "Follow me." Peter now turns around, right? He says, "Lord, who is the one who betrays you?" Peter, seeing him, said to Jesus, "But Lord, what about this man?" Jesus says to Peter, "If I will that he remains till I come, what is that to you? You follow me." So Jesus has a conversation with Peter. And in this discourse, Jesus says to him, "I know that unfortunately you are going to die. And in your death, you are going to glorify me." Peter then says to Jesus, "I hear you, and I'm not in objection in what you're saying. But what about John? What's going to happen to him? So you're telling me I'm going to die. You're telling me that this is what's going to happen to me. But what about John? What is going to become of his fate?" And Jesus says, "If I will that he remains till I come, what is that to you?" And Jesus in this passage is saying, if I decide that John lives forever until I return, how is that of any concern to you? Your concern is to follow me. Obviously, this is in the positive, but it can also be in the negative to say, whatever happens outside of your realm, beloved, it has nothing to do with you. What is it to you what happens in the lives of other people, especially when God is effecting judgment? Your main concern, your main priority is just to follow Jesus. And be cautious about this. I hear God specifically say this. Be cautious about making sure that when God is vindicating you, you are not the one sabotaging the vindication of God for yourself because you want to diminish, you want to dim your light, you want to play small. You don't want the table being set in the presence of your enemies. Your job is to follow after Jesus. Your job is to follow after God and follow the purpose and the plan of his vindication for you, whatever that looks like. So if it means that suddenly they are hearing of your name on every side, they are hearing of your accomplishments on every side, so be it. Don't contend and fight with the purpose and the will and the plan of vindication for your life that God has in store for you. Right? Yours is to follow after Jesus. Because he's going to ask you, what is it to you? What is it to you if I set the table in the presence of your enemies? What is it to you if I cause your name to be heard in places where they never thought your name would be heard? What is it to you if I cause you to be in prosperity and walk in success where they never expected you to walk in success? What is it to you? Yours is to follow Jesus. Yours is to follow God. Yours is to live out his vindication plan concerning your life. So I pray that this is an encouragement for you, beloved. We are in a season where God is setting up the vindication for his children, whether we like it or not, whether we want to play small, whether we want to be in the background, whether we want to be the one saying, but God, this is too much exposure, too much of eyes on me, too much of your blessings upon my life. So be it. God bless you, beloved. I hope this message was an encouragement for you. Till the next video.